Hey everyone, and thank you for tuning into Food Firms and Chefs. We love having you listen and subscribe, and I would love to introduce you to Samantha Philip, who is one of the co-owners, or actually co-creators of Crave Nature's Eatery. So, Samantha, thank you for joining us on Food Firms and Chefs.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
So I was trying to do a little bit of research on you and I did not find too much out about you, which is an unfortunate thing. But I did find out that health and wellness is one of your passions in life. So where did you go to school and what did you graduate with?
Yeah, I'm actually a New York native. I live out in New York. I did come live here in Jersey the last 2 years as Crave was being built with the owner, Violetta. But I graduated Hunter College with my bachelor's in media studies, and then I did like a few minors in like psychology and things like that. Um, I'm from a ballroom dance background as well, so I've always been in that like competitive aspect. I went to LaGuardia High School there, so like the fame school to do dance. So that's what I always thought was going to be my route. That's how I kind of got here before Crave was the idea. There is a dance studio right next door to Crave. And right as the pandemic was kind of um, occurring and happening, there was an opportunity to come and kind of work along this project. And out of that, the studio was about to close. And we had this other room, and the owner did not want to give up her space. She was about to, rent it out to another business, and something inside was like unsettling with her. And she has this amazing, like, instinct gut feeling. Was telling her like don't do it. She literally had the contract like drawn up and everything. They were just one signature away from losing out that side of the dance studio. And she said, I was at her house and she just goes, you know what, no, I'm not going to do it. I've always wanted to open a cafe. Like, let's just do it. And when I saw her explain that, it was like a green light, like light bulb. I was like, oh my God, count me in. Because at that moment, that year, everybody's kind of figuring out themselves, right? Like going back to basics or, adapting. I had just graduated college that earlier that year. So I was trying to find myself, I guess, so to speak. And I decided to take advantage to take like a bunch of courses. Like I did a lot of Tony Robbins training. I
Mm.
am up to Tony Robbins. Um, so I figured, okay, it's a pandemic. Let me take time to figure out what it is that I want to do. And that's where I really found the common denominator of all the projects that I would constantly find myself doing as far as like dance, teaching at the studio, then jumping on for Crave, doing like the care business, right? Like with the vegan hair care skin. Like, what do all of these have as a common factor? And that's wellness and health and, just taking care of yourself, taking care of your mind, your body, your spirit. And that's kind of like what's been my driving factor as far as anything that I say yes to. Um, and just what helps me keep my passion alive for Crave to constantly, work and make it better. I love being able to, go to the back of the counter, more or less always doing like the marketing side, and I kind of sit behind the computer most of the time. Um, and I helped, create like the menu and things like that, but I'm not really there too much. So it
Mhm.
was nice. Actually, I had to be like a more like counter person because we were like down a few people. So it's so pleasurable to, make that bowl with the individual, with the customer, see them like smiling, like picking out their items and, walking out with a smile, or when they sit down and leaving with the smile, like that just feels so good because, you're also giving them like good food that is only going to enrich, like the lifestyle. So I went off on a tangent, but that's kind of full circle.
No, I mean, it's a great tangent to go on. I mean, and also I wanted to just, give a shout out for the fact that we are now in Women's History Month. And, this business is owned by, I believe, four of you who contributed to it. So, and all of you women. So I'm, proud of you for that, snaps. And if you allow me to also put a little bit of a bridge. The building and the complex that you guys have Crave out of, it is what is it? Viva, I believe. Viva is the complex.
I believe so. Honestly, I don't know if it really has like a name. I always thought of it that way whenever I would come, to take classes and stuff. And Violetta was like, "Oh, that's just kind of there," but she didn't really, plan on it. But it's funny because that's just what I was always calling it. So yeah, we'll go with. We were gonna probably name it one day, like the Wellness Plaza or something,
Mm.
because you have the dance studio, so like your fitness, your movement. You have Crave, which is healthy food. There's also a salon down at the first corner. So actually, I'm just going to give a shout out because Violetta couldn't be here today for the interview. So I have to, be her spokesperson and really hype my woman up over here because she really is a boss babe. I don't know, like me using that term, but she is, she owns the salon, she owns the dance studio, and she owns Crave. And she's kind of brought all of this like wellness aspects as well together. It's why I looked to her as a mentor, and wanted to just like latch on and learn as much as possible from her. And it's been such a like great ride of like learning, and being able to be following like in her footsteps, so to speak. So it's just great to be a part of that. So I had to give her a specific shout out because without her, none of this would be alive. Like it would not be.
Well, I'm proud of her for doing that because she, I think, was not originally from the US either. So she, moved here and
Yeah.
then started those businesses. So a huge props to you if you're listening. Hopefully you're listening. But let's dive in a little bit into the menu that you guys offer because as you said, it is healthy. And we have a lot of people who kind of contact us and are curious about, healthier diets. And I know that you offer like the salads and whatnot, even salad bowls, I think, in the morning as well for breakfast, along with smoothies. And I really want to try that wake up smoothie.
Yes, that is a great pick me up. It has some espresso and chocolates and banana, and who doesn't like a smoothie like that in the morning? Um, yeah, I mean, the whole uh, origin or the whole idea behind it was when we sat down to think of, what was the menu going to be like and what was the style of how we were going to serve that food. There was a lot of ideas and a lot of bouncing back in between, but we realized based off of the location we're at, our community, there was there wasn't really like a healthy spot necessarily close by. We're on Route 1. So when it came down to what kind of service, we thought, okay, it has to be like healthy food, but something quick so that people going to work, people on their lunch break can come in, grab something and feel good. They don't have to go to a fast food restaurant where they're just doing it because of a time constraint. So that's kind of where it started going. And as far as like building it, we wanted to be as simple as possible when it comes to like the seasoning and how we prepare the food. So, I'm proud to say that we only use extra virgin olive oil on like our hot food, our veggies, our rice, like all of that stuff. And it's slightly seasoned. Some things have a few more seasonings. The proteins have a little bit more like flavor in them. But what makes it great is that it's slightly seasoned. It's baked. We don't have a fryer in the back. Like we threw that out. At first we got one and we're like, why did we get one? Someone told us to get one and we're like, we don't fry anything. So we just took that out and got another oven instead.
Well, I mean, the advent of air fryers, you can always do that. Like it gives the same crispness, but like with the healthy, like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So now we have like a double stack because at first we had the one in the fryer and we're like, this isn't gonna work. So we got double up. So they're just in and out baking everything. A few things sauteed, but we have our cold pressed juices, our smoothies. So the bowls, what's nice is you kind of can either create your own or you pick one of the pre-designed ones and you kind of can walk the line. You see the food in front of you if you come in person. So you see, what you're putting into your bowl. And even when they're ordered online, they're made on the spot, right? So you have fresh ingredients, fresh food, and it's quick and casual. We have a beautiful interior design that I love working out of. If only, I get distracted because I want to go help a customer or something like that. So I have to sit somewhere else. But when I can just kind of, journal or read or coffee or be on a Zoom call also, like maybe for like something, um, like some sort of call, or I don't even know, but it's just so nice to sit there. I see people come in and work. I see people come in and study. I see people just come in and hang out. Apparently this is like a meet in the middle place. I have had multiple people saying, oh, I'm meeting my friend here. I live an hour that way. She lives an hour that way. And we thought Crave was going to be the spot to meet in the middle. And it just like makes me like grin from ear to ear. My dimples get like deeper and I'm like so like honored that this is the spot that they chose to meet at. And we have people coming in every day. We have people coming in monthly. I mean, like the customers that are here are just honestly incredible. So yeah.
Now, with obviously the word of mouth has gotten out and people are, come to you guys. It's popular and, the weather is getting warmer. So everybody's like, all right, we gotta gear up for that swimsuit season. So I'm sure that you're getting even more popular because of that. But with the cold pressed juices that you offer, do you have any kind of like immunity ones or any kind of like digestive aid?
So we have four. We have our detox on the rocks, our immunity booster. We have the vision, and we have our drink your greens. So they're really nicely colored. You have your green, yellow, orange, and red. And they juice them and they bottle them fresh, and they're put in our grab and go. So it's a variety of ingredients, depending on what it is that what you really want more, right? Whether it's like someone who doesn't really like to eat that many greens, that's great because you have like the celery and the apples and cucumber, but you don't really taste it as it's veggies. Like what I like is the proportion of our juices is just really flavorful and it's
Mhm.
enjoyable to be able to consume that, which I think is really important because sometimes you have a juice and it just ain't that tasty. So yeah, we also have like outdoor dining, so I can't wait for the warm weather to come. Because when we did that last year, yeah, there's a little patio. We thought of that. We're like, we need to have that. So it's really nice. Our windows kind of open like an accordion. So when it's warm, we just fully open them so the people at the high tops can like sit and enjoy that fresh air. So it's just a really great atmosphere just to even walk into and like take a fresh breath and then walk back out after you get the bowl.
Which is good. Now, I want to also add because it looks like you guys have some events that are going on coming up soon. So feel free to plug those away because we have about 5 minutes left. Time flies when you're having fun.
Gosh, we have so many things happening. So I'll just preface by saying that we are open now to catering orders and private events. We've had a few private events like baby showers, birthdays, whether it's like semi-private where they just use our space and have the food, or it's fully blocked off. We have that dance studio. So if it's like some of like a larger capacity party, then we have that ability to kind of now, like co-work together. But in honor of International Women's Day, we do have a giveaway happening. It's going to be ending on Tuesday night, but on our social media, you can nominate. So in the comments, you nominate a woman that you want to honor and why. And we're going to pick a winner to win a $50 gift card to Crave. So the person that nominates and then the nominee will win a gift card. On Saturday, we're doing a bigger like collaborative event. We're having free classes at Viva Ballroom Dance Fitness. That's the dance studio. So we have a booty class happening and Zumba. As well as like samples products. We have a free gift coming from Crave. So we're just kind of doing all of that together on Saturday. We're going to be launching our very first trivia night at Crave on March 17th. So it's going to be, a fun, more details to come on that. And we're celebrating our 1 year anniversary this year. So that's going to be on 5th. So again, some more details on that as well. But it's going to be a fun time. So it's a good time to be in because I feel like this is kind of where I feel like that new year because it's our 1 year and then spring is coming. I feel like this is my version of the new year. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
I'm excited to see what happens for you guys too. I mean, because it looks and sounds like you have a lot going on. And obviously you guys have been very girls, ladies, women have been very successful in your endeavors collectively, but also individually as well. So a lot of props to you guys for that. But because you and I spoke earlier before you hopped on, I want to give you one minute to like actually give a shout out to your shampoo and beauty product line.
Of course. So, another business that I'm personally a part of, aside from Crave, is a company called Monate. And it's all vegan, clean hair care, skincare, and wellness products. So that's something that I started relatively also around the time of Crave. That's just kind of been like within that wellness bundle, and I just said yes to everything. I couldn't say no, and it's taken me on this journey where I am now. So I'm very grateful for all of it kind of coming together and working together. So that's just like a little tidbit. But while I'm here, I'm going to give one last shout out to actually somebody special. I know we're, you know, honoring the women and it is a women owned business, but I have to give a big shout out to Kenny Garcia from Kenny's Meals. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he also has a coaching like for restaurants company. It's kind of like he's been one of our biggest mentors, him and Mike from Aligned Hospitality. Kenny comes in here like almost every single day. So if you need another guest, Kenny's Meals is your guy for meal prep. He's also very like into clean eating, and he has helped us tremendously, just being like one of our biggest supporters. So I wanted to give him a shout out to one of the big guys that we have on a part of us. So
Well, thank you for that shout out. And hopefully hand in hand, like I will shout you out too, obviously. But in the last minute that we have, why don't you plug Crave and plug some of the other businesses associated with Crave, where to find them, how to get in touch.
So you can find us on cravenatureseatery.com. A lot of the other businesses, when there's like collaborative events, get tagged in there as well. We're located at 1891 Brunswick Avenue in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. So right off of Route 1, there's like a roundabout. So you'll find us. I know it can be a little tricky, but you'll get here. Once you get here, you'll know. So we're in that plaza. And the other businesses that I mentioned that are also owned by Violetta is Viva Ballroom Dance Fitness. So if you want to move your body, there's yoga, dance classes. We have socials that we collaborate with Crave as well. And there's her salon, which is called the Beauty Bar Design Studio. But yeah, just come find us. Like I said, follow us on social media as well. It's just Crave Nature's Eatery for literally everything. You can see pictures of our food, pictures of our team. Again, our team, I'm in awe with like the culture that we were able to create here with the team. I mean, I can't wait. Like we just celebrated employee appreciation day with them. They are amazing, always smiling and just saying yes to whatever, happens. So very, very appreciative of them, growing with us because we're figuring it out as we go with some things. So
All right. Well, thank you very much for hopping on and joining us on Food Farms and Chefs. And I look forward to Saturday.
we'll see you there.
So we do need to let you go, but thank you again for joining us on Food Farms and Chefs.
Thank you so much.
All right. And we will be right back after this short break. Welcome back to Food Farms and Chefs, and thank you for joining us. I would like to introduce you to a very interesting person who has quite the history in the hospitality business, Charlton Gronlund, who owns Bar to Table. Charlton, thank you for joining us on Food Farms and Chefs.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great. I think I'm in the right place. Food part.
Right? Because you cannot have food or beverages without farmers, and you definitely cannot have beverages without them being easy to access. So
More and more.
yes. So before we jump into Bar to Table and your pre-made ready to drink Bloody Mary, that is phenomenal, by the way, because I am not
Thank
a
you.
bloody you're welcome. I'm not a Bloody Mary drinker. So the fact that I not only sipped it, but I was enjoying it immensely. It tastes exactly like a Bloody Mary should taste like, but I feel like I'm jumping in and I didn't want to. I wanted to jump into your history in the hospitality world.
Yeah, so that goes back a few years, but in high school, I think everybody always gets a waiting job or usually works in restaurants in some capacity throughout their years. And I really enjoyed it as a profession, more so learning about it. I mean, I bartended, I waited tables, but I also worked back in the line and in the kitchen, back of the house. So loved food, always loved food. I think I probably got that from my dad because he was a big time cook at home. So I always watched him cooking. So I was probably watching the food channels when they only had that at like 11 p.m. on PBS or public television, right? Before food TV and all these competitions and everything else. So I turned that into a career for a bit of time, right? I didn't do it by going to culinary school or anything, but I worked in a number of restaurants in Philadelphia area, Atlantic City, New York. Before then, I eventually left the industry, but kind of food and beverage is a bit addictive, as you might ask anybody and they'll tell you. And it's never really left my being. And this is sort of a number of years later manifesting itself in a canned cocktail.
And but see, that's the thing. You worked in the line and you were a chef, so it's not like you're just pulling flavors and saying, it's okay. Like, or like throwing a bunch of different ingredients together. And yes, there is like ingredient list, obviously, that is atypical of making a Bloody Mary. But you did it with the nuance of having a chef's palate.
Yeah, I guess that helped, right? And yes, a Bloody Mary does have a number of ingredients. It can have a lot of ingredients these days. And really going into the corporate world after my food and beverage world, it was interesting. I was flying 90, 100,000 miles a year, being on planes and just wanting to Bloody Mary. And what you would get at the time was a can of oversalted tomato juice, a small little bottle of vodka, and like a packet of pepper. And then there's your Bloody Mary. So it got to the point where I'm like, this isn't, there's got to be something better. And then probably about 5 years ago, I was with my current business partner and we're playing golf, and I went into one of the shelter houses and it was a Sunday morning and I was like, I just want a Bloody Mary. And there was canned wine. I'm like, I can't I can't drink this at 9 in the morning. And then there was all this beer and everything else out there. And I'm like, I just need a canned Bloody Mary. And this was really before the whole canned cocktail craze. So either naivety or stupidity led me to determining I could do this. And from that point onward, I formed a company and then decided I'm going to turn this Bloody Mary formulation that I have into something that's commercially viable and now something that's actually on the shelves.
Well, okay. So off of what you just said, I want to also give a nod to the fact that you, amongst the many hats you wore in the hospitality business, you also were a strategical sourcing person. So what was that like? How much of that with your history being a line cook and a chef and the strategical sourcing like came into play with being able to create to create your bar to table Bloody Mary?
Yeah, people don't realize that when you think about getting a job in the restaurant industry, people don't really connect the business behind it and how difficult it is to run a restaurant. People are coming in the front door, they eat, everything goes well, and they don't really think much of it besides the fact that they're going to come back. But behind the house is a lot of controlled chaos. And from a strategic sourcing standpoint, that's a direction that I went corporately after I left the restaurant business. In order to manage a kitchen, everything's perishable in there, and it's a small microcosm of a supply chain, right?
Yeah.
And worse in the fact that if you're opening a restaurant, most purveyors or vendors don't think you're going to be in business for very long, right? So they don't take credit, they don't take checks, they take cash. And if you're
Yeah.
spending cash out the door and you're not managing perishable inventory correctly, you could have a big problem on your hand and spend a lot more money than you're doing in the first place. So I guess linking that to what the question you just asked, it's really important from a business sense to realize, okay, that product that you're getting out, when you're thinking about how to take something that's made in a kitchen, for instance, your formulation, turning that into something that's commercially reproducible, and doing that in a way that's can maintain a 12-month plus shelf life, being shelf stable without any kind of cold box or without any other outside of pasteurization. That all requires that same thinking in terms of sourcing and a supply chain thought process. So there's a lot that goes into it that has to be thought about in terms of how you make it so that it stays fresh. It tastes the same every time. You're not having cans exploding because, tomato juice is a challenge, and that's been known to happen in the past. And then making sure that, tomato juice is a very kind of volatile ingredient generally to work with. So to accomplish what we've done, I think it's taken a little longer than I would have liked, but I think we've done it correctly. And then that corporate background that I have definitely influenced that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anytime you bring canning into the equation, like you have to worry about, the acidity levels, the bacteria that might grow. So you have to make sure that everything is vacuum sealed. Then you in the interview that I had listened to, you had mentioned that you utilized you sealed with nitrogen, which
Correct.
I mean, yeah, obviously that's going to kill off any bacteria that's possibly around the
Yeah.
rim. So
And it creates that air vacuum, right? So when you do pop the lid on it, there's nothing in there besides just the product that you've packaged.
Yeah, which is exactly what you need. Now you started like obviously you came off as a big hit. You tested with your friends and whatnot who taste tested what you created. What was the process that you went through for going from, testing the different products to actually like coming to fruition?
Yeah, kitchen to commercial, I guess.
Yes.
So I think the first thing I did was actually just make sure that my personal network of carefully chosen palates enjoyed, right? People who liked Bloody Marys enjoyed what I actually created to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And then once that happened, I worked with a company. I worked with a company here in Chicago, where I'm based currently, to formulate that kitchen recipe into, and it's not a flavoring, but basically formulate it into a spice mix,
Yeah.
right? That we then ultimately turned into that we turn into a concentrate that goes in goes into the can ultimately.
Yeah. Now, I had alluded when we first started, I am not a a Bloody Mary drinker. But I have to say, like, I mean, and maybe you need to have somebody like myself, who is a little bit more sensitive. I do have a very sensitive palate, but somebody who's sensitive to Bloody Marys, in that it's not something that I normally would like, but I like yours.
Yeah, great. Thank you again. Well, it's interesting. We've gotten So when we have people taste our product, we have a 90% liquor to lips conversion, and that's sort of jargon in the industry. Like if you taste it, you like it and you want to buy it, right?
Yes.
It's interesting because we've been at exhibits or trade shows, and we get it from both ends of the spectrum. Like, I don't really like Bloody Marys, and kind of like what you just described and articulated. You're like, wow, this is actually pretty good. I actually really like this. It tastes like a Bloody Mary. I might not drink a lot of them, but I like it. And then you get the other end of the spectrum, where people who are, I'm a discernible palate when it comes to Bloody Marys, right? And they almost want to test you, which is great. I love that. Then they come over to the table and they're looking at you suspectly, like, oh, Bloody Mary in a can can't possibly be good. Then if I had a video of every person and a collage of people who would come take a look at it, taste it, and then you see their face completely change, and then almost start bringing their friends over, right?
Yeah.
You got to taste this. You got to taste this, right? So, that's validating, certainly for us, and validating for, just for me, because coming from that food and beverage background, it's kind of like every plate that you sent out, you want to see it come back empty,
Yeah.
right? Not empty after it's been thrown in the trash, kind of empty, but like they ate everything on that
Yeah.
plate, and that because that's your validation for you've done something well.
Yeah. And I mean, you definitely did because I feel like I'm not really supposed to drink on air, but you balanced it well between the acidity level with the like I feel like there's a slight, not like an overpowering peppery, because I feel like I've, and maybe that's what I didn't like in previous Bloody Marys, but the fact that you balanced it so well and it's available in a can, like where you can just take it anywhere. It's I can't applaud you enough to like say, oh, this is perfect, because there's a lot of people out there that, that golf or that travel or that, if they want to go to a party and like have something that's easily like accessible, now they can, because now they have it in a can. They don't have to figure out the equation of the different ingredients. You can literally just go to your store where these are sold and pop it open.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think you should be joining my sales team. I mean, it's fantastic feedback. You're basically talking like we would want you to talk if we were talking about the product, right? I mean, the intent was convenience. The intent was consistency. The intent was premium. And the intent was also around perishability, because Bloody Mary could have like 13 ingredients in it. And a lot of people, they have the one Bloody Mary party and then they have to throw everything out. And if, whether it be peppers, whether it be horseradish or Worcestershire, or all the other things that go into it, citrus, certainly tomato juice. And then because you use it once, whereas this was intended to be like, look, I can have a can. It's great. I mean, I don't think it's a Bloody Mary's been around 100 years. It's been a top 10 consumed cocktail in the world for I don't know how long. But it doesn't mean that people, it's very popular, but people don't necessarily drink it all the time. They drink it throughout the year at various different occasions. So if we could support that, and that's what we wanted to do, whether, like you said, whether it's boating, whether it's golf courses, whether it's just a retail experience, whether it's brunch on a Sunday at your house, whether it's mixing half of it with a great Mexican lager and making a michelada, which it does make great micheladas, great, then we've accomplished our goal. And I think to your earlier point, we really wanted to have it be complex from a flavor standpoint without being overpowering one way or another, because we could have been like the spicy Bloody Mary initially, and then everybody would know us as the spicy Bloody Mary, versus like, hey, that thing's really awesome.
Yeah. And I have to say, because I think it was what a
5.
7.5 ABV on this, which, given like that it's a little bit on the higher side of the ABV, I was thinking, oh, it's gonna punch me a little bit in the face. No, you guys balanced that so well, where it was subtle and it came in a little bit after, like it's not at the top of your palate when you taste it. It kind of blends in and just a little bit subtly, like kind of moves forward, and you're like, oh, there it is. So I loved how you did that.
Thanks. Yeah, we wanted to come in a range that was comfortable for people to drink, right? You can always bump it. It's kind of like a haircut, right? Like you can only, if you take too much off, you're not going back, right?
Yeah.
So you can always add vodka to it if you want, if you have that. So, but it's consistent and it's not overpowering, like you said. It fits that sort of low alcohol trend that a lot of people are looking towards right now. It's vodka, which was always the intent to be a spirit-based
Yeah.
cocktail versus malt or something else. So yeah, we're very happy with the way it came out, and we think we certainly think it meets a market and
Yeah.
supports a market that's out there.
It definitely does. And as you said, you can use it to, mix it if you want more alcohol in there, you can mix more in there. But I mean, just on its own, it's extremely approachable. So that's, always a positive thing, especially because you don't want to go somewhere like to a party per se, and these are here and you get like a little too far in and you're like, oh, I can't drive. Like this is perfect.
Great local stories. So where I live, there's a 4th of July parade every year. And when we first came out and kind of getting on the market, we donated a case to a friend's house who was right on the parade route. And one of the mothers came up to us afterwards, or during the parade. She's like, "I love you guys." I'm like, well, why? It's Independence Day. I mean, what did we do? And she's like, "No, here's why I love you guys. because in the past, when I've come to this parade, my husband would make me a Bloody Mary. The first one was great. The second one was 70% vodka. And then I had to chase my 3 kids around the rest of the day, and I couldn't find them, and I was probably overserved, and it became a real problem. Whereas this time, I can have a couple of these and I find my kids, the rest of the day is not shut, and I'm having a super enjoyable 4th of July party. So that's kind of, to your point, the feedback that we got locally when we were at a 4th of July parade.
Well, I'm glad that I can reflect the same feedback, and it keeps with that consistency issue, because in the hospitality world, in the food industry, consistency is key.
It's everything.
Yeah, it's everything. You want to make sure that this can is going to taste exactly like the next can. And so I applaud you, because you definitely have found that peak quality level that you were searching for.
Thank you. Well, we look forward to continuing that and keeping that in the market as we continue to scale and get into new geographical regions around the country.
And we had so much fun talking. I am almost losing time with you.
Oh.
Really, really quick. Where can people find you online, and where can people purchase cans right now? And do you ship across nationwide?
Yeah, so we do not ship across the nation right now, specifically because of the distribution system that currently exists makes that a little tough to do it in that direction. So what I would recommend is go out to our website, www.bar2table, so bar2table.com, and we actually have a little location finder. You can put your zip code in and then see where we're carried and stocked. And if you don't find us in a particular area, then by all means, please do send us a note through the website itself, and you probably get me to respond to that, and we can figure out how to get you some.
All right. Thank you very much. And that's my timer, actually. Thank you very much, Charlton, for joining us on Food Farms and Chefs. And thank you again for the delicious Bloody Mary, which is ready to drink. I love that you have that. And I look forward to the next endeavor that you're going to branch out in, which is the spicy, which I did not have time to delve into. Sorry.
Nah, no worries. But thanks very much for having us on the show. It was great, and we hope to do it again soon.
All right. Thank you so much. And to everybody who is out there listening, you can follow us on Food Farms and Chefs. You can stream us live at any time by telling your smart device to play Food Farms and Chefs. And we play on 3 syndicated radio stations throughout the East Coast. So tune in, subscribe, like, and we will find you on the web. And thank you again for tuning in.